Yeah, but they're not making new things. They're just making old things that we love into pieces of modern trash. I don't know.
Yeah. Very true. Very true.
That being said, like people say, I'm never like all the new Star Wars stuff is terrible. Acolytes, we all know this, but people are like Star Wars is ruined. I'm like, you can watch the old movies and pretend the new ones don't exist. My kids have no idea that modern Star Wars sucks because
That could be
all they've seen is like OG, and we're almost done with the prequels. So
that could be a whole. They don't know that, but they're gonna find out one day. You know, it's like the man coming down the chimney. They're gonna learn eventually.
they're gonna be like, "What the hell happened?"
Let's shift,
Like,
let's shift the topic a little bit, right? And what you just mentioned, I don't think I necessarily agree with that, right? I've heard it and I get where it comes from, but it's killing it as far as like the fans, right? So you got like a circle of fans that keep IPs alive and everything like that. And when you kill the interest that these core fans have, people aren't going to make new fan stuff because there's a whole ecosystem of fan made stuff, and when you kill that production, you're killing the IP and its relevance into stuff that will keep it alive for years and years and years, right?
these kind of fans are the reason things have staying power, not just momentary popularity.
It's cultural significance.
The true death is when never again another mainstream Star Wars movie is made, which I doubt that would happen, but that can be how it is officially dead. And especially if another company takes over the IP, and because it's so ruined, they make a movie and they go out of business. It's like that IP's dead, you know? And you know,
but at the same time, I can't keep giving money to people who are constantly ruining the thing that that I love. Like, I heard Andor was good. I've never watched it.
It was really good.
Never watched it. I probably won't watch it. Not because I hate Andor and those shows, but because of what they've been doing. Like they brought me back in with The Mandalorian. Season 1, good show. Good show. Has some hiccups here and there. Season 2, better. Season 3.
Season 2 was way worse. Get out of here.
Oh.
Season 2 was terrible.
Dude, we're gonna have a problem.
Oh, really? I think I'm with Bats on that one.
But Justin, your opinion doesn't count. Okay?
No, of course it counts. It counts for like a whole bunch.
Are we in the ACP live stream?
Oh Lord.
We're just gonna see.
I was gonna say that I understand your point, Kahuna, and you're not necessarily completely wrong. There are shows that I do that with in franchises where I have the same take. I'm like, those just don't exist. It works to a point, but I think whenever there's so many things based on the franchise, it gets really hard to be like, these 3 exist and these 70 don't. It's one thing if it's like these 3 exist, these 2 or 3 don't, but once it gets so big, it's so hard to ignore it after a certain point. That's right.
Yeah.
Anyways.
But no matter how bad modern Star Wars stuff gets, Return of the Jedi is still one of my favorite movies of all time. To this day.
But how long will it be passed down to generations? I can assume you're going to pass it down to your kids, but will your kids pass it down to their grandchildren?
Under threat of death? No.
Yes. Yeah. No, I think that it's like if they're just like, oh, there's all this other slop that's going to kind of, because they're not going to have the same nostalgia watching it that we did when we were younger. I don't feel like it's the same.
Well, Joe, think about it. Return of the Jedi, I'll use that example because it's my favorite of the original. It came out in 1983. I was born in 94. I probably didn't see it until near the end of the 90s.
Did you watch the re-release when it went to surround sound?
Yeah.
Yeah, I did too. I think that's a big thing. When they re-release, like that's why I think there's a huge thing with 90s kids tied to Star Wars. I remember seeing Return of the Jedi in theaters. It's like one of my earliest memories. That's one of my favorite memories.
I didn't see it in theaters, actually. Now that
I saw it in theaters, and it was like the theater was crowded, right? So if you don't have these like big theater movie moments, it's gonna slowly die. Like I think even with the prequels, they weren't as big, like right. So it didn't have the same cultural staying that I think that the re-release, the surround sound.
They're looking better and better. I'm telling. Yeah. I've always liked the prequels. Obviously, I grew up with them, but even without that, like, there's still like I was watching the worst of the prequel movies, which is Attack of the Clones, and it's so infinitely more watchable than any of the sequels. It's embarrassing how more watchable it is.
But it's not. It's not having the same impact. Like I don't think you're like, starving to or just impatiently waiting to show your kids the the prequels. Like you really want to show them the OG.
Oh no, I showed them both. Yeah, I showed them the OG and then the prequels. We're like halfway.
Yeah, but I'm sure you didn't care as much when you showed them the prequels.
No, I did.
Okay, well, not everyone will. Well, most people are not gonna.
Only a Sith deals in absolutes.
It wasn't an absolute.
Bad faith argument.
Your campaign.
Let the anger flow through you.
I was going to say though, that's the $1 million question though. Will this be inherited to like your kids and their kids? That is what like creators need to focus on more, instead of like virtue signaling, or even the rubber band effect of like anti-virtue signaling, or like trying to stick it to this group of people, or whatever the case is. I'm going to do this trend or whatever. No, just like stay true to yourself and try to make something that you would pass down to your own kids.
It's just the fan economy, I think, is super important, and it's the Star Wars fan economy is like dead. And even between like the movies before, like those books, like I never read the books, but I knew a bunch of people in school that read the books, and they always talked about how cool they were, and I'm like.
They had all of those books to base the new movies off of, and they didn't do a single.
Yeah.
And then it makes me really upset when I see something really cool like the at least the first season of what was it called? Castlevania. And I never really played. I played like one of the games when I was younger.
I'm playing one right now.
And like, I feel like that show coming out and how good it was, like revitalized, not just revitalized, you might not agree, but I think a lot of people like the show, and it revitalized the fan base and also brought in a bunch of new fans that are just like, oh, let me check out all this other Castlevania stuff.
I don't think a lot of people who watched the show, who had not played it before, decided I'm going to play a game based off of this show.
Yeah.
I don't think that happens with if they really like it. Like maybe Castlevania is not the best example, but I definitely think
that kind of thing can happen
when they really like something.
Not great for that reason.
Yeah, and there's all this other old stuff about it. Like they want to like start doing it. I mean, start investing into that stuff, and like, learn more about the world. Learn more about that. What else does it have?
Well, Brian talks about evergreen products. Avoid any todayism. Go with timeless concepts. Whether Star Wars or something like that is what our kids show their kids eventually or not, they will have their own version of that at some point, because these stories are old as time. There aren't any new stories. They've all been told in some way before in time in memoriam, so they will continue.
Let's bring this back to Godzilla. Like the time, like that. Talk about time, like that. That's just filled with timeless concepts, right? I think it's like we got to question what is todayism, and it's just like the things that we don't care about. There's no such thing as a wholly original idea. All these like concepts and ideas, like there might be little tweaks here and there, but like we've had stories with these concepts before. It's just I think when Brian, and correct me if I'm wrong, when you mentioned todayisms, it's like you're trying so far out the box that you're just coming up with a retarded idea, and nobody likes it.
Right, and it's almost like we're all making this collective chowder, and it gets passed along through the ages, right? You get the chowder, and you've seen how everybody's done it before. You got your own ideas. I think the key thing is you just make it taste good. You add your twist to it, sprinkle your seasoning, and pass it along, right? It's when people like dump out half of the chowder and then add like worms and random roots that they found in mushrooms, then everybody starts tripping out and choking and
when
puking.
you mistake the chowder bowl for the piss bowl and
Yes.
things just it's a mess. It's a mess.
or don't even mistake it. You just decide to piss in it because it'll save money. Or
That's why you never mistreat an employee at a restaurant.
yeah.
Also, Justin, we've talked about this before, but Symphony of the Night is one of the coolest names for a thing of all time.
Oh, the song.
I love that. I love that.
Cool. I was just talking to
It's
my
a
cop.
great-
Castlevania's. Yeah, I love that game.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I still haven't played one. I need to at some point.
Dude, Symphony of the Night. Start with Symphony of the Night.
Dope.
Great games. Yeah. Classics. That's why. Well,
Great games.
Games.
Yeah, classic.
Yeah. Yeah.
no, I think it's just really cool when people like you already have like established good universes going on, and then you can like reach a new audience by coming out with something modern, and not like todayisms, but like when it's more
Right, I know what
modern, or just in the news cycle or whatever you want to say, and pop culturally relevant or whatever, and it just brings more people into it.
Is there any chance that something like Godzilla -1 kind of sets that trend? Where people
Absolutely.
properties that are super old?
Absolutely.
It takes
I-
almost everything I loved about the original and it does it modern and it does it better.
Well,
It's a really
especially
good film.
especially when bigger channels like Nerdrotics and stuff do those direct comparisons. They're like, oh, guess what? One of these Acolyte episodes costs 22 -1s. Imagine that.
Yeah. So
It's
what is
just
the
insane
Obvious.
What's the
to
next
make that
big
comparison.
1950s franchise that they're like, we need to reboot. Forget the 80s. We're going back to the 20s. Finding like a property from way back when to reboot.
Actually, if you're going to do a reboot some like an old 1920s talkie. Take something with no sound and
Triple
no one knows about it
indemnity.
anymore.
Quadruple indemnity.
Well, how many people do you think went and rewatched the old movies for the first
I don't
time,
know.
even after
A
Godzilla
lot.
-1?
They
a
were
lot of
free
people
on
did.
YouTube. So it's possible.
Yeah. I think plenty of people wanted to do that. And I think they would have even paid money to like rent it if they wanted to.
I did.
Yeah, the money.
Yeah.
That's absolutely true.
That's an
Oh, wait, no, I didn't.
entirely
It was on
different animal,
HBO.
but yeah.
yeah.
Let's
But
see here.
no, it was free
No.
on YouTube. But that
I got it on Amazon Prime for free, so yeah.
weird.
Yeah.
But yeah. All right. So I guess we can get into our next topic. Let me do our transition. It helps me so much when I edit. Yeah, remakes should be done with bad movies.
No
completely
view
agree
count
with
for
that.
24,000.
McCoppin, The Last Starfighter is what comes to mind when you say that. Because I could not help but watch, and I'm like, if they just took this exact same concept, cut out the Earth scenes, and updated the graphics, this would be a pretty freaking based movie.
Dude, I
Because
love
like the Earth scenes work in an 80s movie when you're cutting back and forth and everything's like Dune style or something. But like in a modern context, you can make this really cool, like realistic movie where this kid gets swept away, and it's like a portal fantasy though, right? That's what came to mind. That's what The Last Starfighter is it's a portal fantasy. So when it cut back to Earth, I'm like, what the heck? If they modernize that, put some like really good actors at the heart of it, pumped a bunch of money into it, stayed true to the IP, most importantly, and just made it a portal fantasy, I think it would be like one of the best movies made in a while.
I didn't get to rewatch that.
Oh
like
man,
in-
it's so good.
In the early 2010s and late like 2000s, the first 10 years of some of the remakes were maybe some of them were not super inspired, but they weren't offensive. Like in maybe 2011, they came out with a remake of Footloose. I thought it was fine. It was at the point where I'm like, I could watch either one, and it's completely fine. I'm not offended by someone preferring one over the. Oh shush! I do prefer the older one, but.
You always have to ask why. You just watched a clip from the Iron Seas podcast. Make sure to like this, subscribe. It helps us out a little bit. And please catch the show live at 9:30 Eastern every Tuesday.